pieces are clean, we're ready to put O-rings on. Okay, now let's go ahead and put all our pieces back in, all the new items. First thing we want to do is put the new bearing in. This is going to seat all the way to the bottom of the faucet. This is what your spout is going to ride on. We're going to take new O-rings and some plumber's grease and coat these O-rings with some grease. Don't need to have a whole lot on there. Make sure it seats into the holes. Now your upper O-ring. Coat the whole thing with plumber's grease. You don't really need to have a whole big glob of it on there, just enough to coat it. Put it in place. Okay. You don't have to grease the inside of your spout. The O-ring has got enough for any kind of lubricant that it's going to need. Now we're going to go ahead and put the spout back on. And as you can see, that's turning really nice. Put our new nut back in place. Rag. This nut doesn't have to be too tight. Just snug it up. Check your faucet, your spout. You got good mobility, good turning, easy. You're good to go. Here's a good example of watching what you do when you take parts off. Make sure you put the same amount of parts back on. I put that nut on here and I failed to put in my upper bearing. So I've taken the nut off. Here's my upper bearing. I'll go ahead and seat that in place. Now I can finish this installation. Without that upper bearing, you're going to have a leak. Snug this up good and tight, not over tightening it. Now we can go ahead and put a new cartridge in. It's not necessary to grease this O-ring and this seal. It doesn't move. But what you do want to look at is on some faucets, these little knobs or notches right here coincide with two little holes inside of the faucet. Those are going to seat. If you don't get them in there, this cartridge is going to sit too high and it's not going to work. You want it to snap down in place. So now that that's in place, we'll go ahead and put the nut back on it. That holds the cartridge. Crescent wrench. Just snug this up. You don't have to over tighten this. Just enough so it's not going to come out on its own. That's all you need. Alright, we're almost there, guys. Hang in there. We'll put the remainder of the parts on and we'll give it a test. Alright, now we can put the handle back on. It's just like it was when we took it off. Except this one's being a little bit difficult. Make sure your set screws turned all the way out. The new cartridge is not got any indentations or dimples in it from being used. So that works perfect right there. We want to tighten that set screw up. Here again, we don't have to over tighten it. Just make it snug. That's all you're going to need. Put our little indicator back on. And we're good. This faucet's turning beautiful now. A lot easier than it did when we started. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean up any mess that I've made with my rag. turn the water back on. All right, let's turn this on. We're going to check for leaks. What you want to look for is any water coming around the base of the spout or up through the neck of the spout. Go ahead and turn it. Move it around, check the leaks. It looks high and dry to me. I think we've got success. Well, I hope that helps. I know that it sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge to figure out how to do these things if you don't have help. So today's reason for changing the O-rings was definitely evident. The spout was really hard to turn, so these O-rings needed to come out and be replaced. Another reason to replace those O-rings that I didn't touch on was that if you're getting water on the outside of that spout from either the bottom of the neck or the top of the neck just below the handle, the O-rings are going to be letting water seep through, and that water is going to find its way down into the cabinet under the sink, and then you'll start getting some wood rot. So you definitely want to take care of that pretty quickly. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I hope this has been helpful. I'm Dan Giles with Alta Surf Apartments, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.